couple of people that were saying, it's probably time for you to start considering going back into corporate. But what great thing does not come with obstacles? What great thing does not come with some level of hardship? And so that's what I, held on to. If I stick with this thing, then what I reap in the end will be so great that, that's the true story, the story of overcoming, the story of making it through. And so that's what I held on to.
Welcome to Keep On Pushing Stories, where, of course, we share real life stories of persistence, perseverance, determination. We do take a deep dive into the mindset of individuals who have pushed past their obstacles and step out of their comfort zone and do something amazing. And today we are really excited to welcome Sharika Sanders to the show. Sharika, welcome to Keep On Pushing Stories.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, it's wonderful to have you. So we always ask Sharika, our guest, to tell us what it is that they do. How do they serve? How do they bring value to the lives of others? How do you do that?
Well, thank you for asking. So, I help women of color who currently work in accounting walk into their God-given purpose, overcoming self-doubt, achieve balance, and unlock that growth that they're looking for in their personal and professional lives. And I do this to be a resource to women who are where I once was, to be that person for them that I needed when I was in that accounting corporate space.
All right, cool. There's a lag, so I had to wait to see if you had something else to say. No, that sounds pretty amazing, Sharika. And maybe that will be part of your keep on pushing story. But do you find that that's a huge issue with women of color in the accounting space, them kind of finding their way?
Yes, it's a male-dominated industry, and when I say male dominated, because you have many women who are in accounting, but the higher you go up in the ranks, the more women, the less women you see, and the more men, and not only men, but it's Caucasian men that you see in the higher level positions. And so being the person in the room, the only one that looked like me, and not just oftentimes the only female, but absolutely the only Black person, period, I realized I needed a person. And, it took a while, and I was able to eventually overcome and step into my right and speak up for myself and all the things. And actually, it's a little bit separate. While this is its own keep on pushing story, I guess mine is actually a little bit different from this, even.
Indeed, indeed. So, if a woman of color wanted to find you to kind of pick your brains and solicit your help in helping them move through, navigate the accounting world as a Black woman, how would they find you?
So you can find me on transformthegap.com, my website, and that's transform the GAAP. And anyone in the accounting and finance space understands that GAAP, gap, is a very widely known accounting term. It means generally accepted accounting principles. However, for my business, it's goals aligned achieving purpose, because that's what we're working towards. So it's transform the gap, GAAP.com. And I can also be found on LinkedIn, Sharika Sanders, and most platforms, honestly, but those are the two that um, I'm the most visible, I guess I'll say.
The line that you purpose, transform the gap. That's where you find Sharika. So Sharika, thank you for sharing that with us. Now, here comes the really important part of our conversation. We want to know, please do tell us your keep on pushing story, that time in your life when you had to overcome an obstacle or push out of your comfort zone to get to a place that you wanted to be. So please do share.
Absolutely. And
Absolutely.
so
And so,
while my corporate career was definitely a keep on pushing journey, I actually want to speak more about after I left corporate. And I left corporate because I was no longer fulfilled, great accountant, but that piece no longer fulfilled me. It was working with the the various people. And so after I transitioned from corporate into entrepreneurship, uh, business was great, things were going great. And about towards the end of my first year, business started to decline. And in addition to business starting to decline, I was also diagnosed with an early stage of breast cancer. And so, to many others, and sometimes we have to watch the people that we share information with, but to others and some within my circle, it was this may be your sign that it's time to, leave entrepreneurship. Business isn't going that great right now. This has happened with you. You probably just need to take a break and go back into corporate because that's your space. That's where you thrive. And I definitely probably considered for a hot minute, not very long at all, but I knew in this entrepreneurial space, I was stepping into something that God had called me to be in. And so I made sure that anyone that I set up meetings with and different things like that, I just pushed those back to give me some time to recover from my surgeries and that sort of thing. And I took that as a time to revamp some things in my business, not to, oh, it's time to go looking for a job. It's time to step out of this space, or I've encountered hardship. So that must mean that I'm doing the wrong thing. No, because I believe that what I'm doing is stepping into my God-given purpose. And in doing that, I know that suffering does come, but it's for his greater good. And so I made a point to stick with my business, to make sure I kept with the networking meetings, to look over my processes and my programs to see where I could enhance things and make different changes. And then from that, when it was time to really get back into things, that's exactly what I did and kept pushing and kept going with the business. And it's reaping great rewards for me. And so, I'm proud to say that I didn't give up in the face of adversity. I didn't listen to the masses when I knew that I was called to do something else.
Indeed. So you talk about two main things here that I definitely want to touch on, Sharika. First is the transitioning from the
Mm-hmm.
corporate world to the entrepreneurial world,
Mm-hmm.
from the 9 to 5 to 24/7, really.
Yes.
And then, of course, your cancer diagnosis. So let's start with your transition because we're for the most part taught to go to school, get good grades, find a good job,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
stay there until you get the golden watch kind of a thing. And there's a certain amount of not just comfort but security in a
Yes.
in a job. But you decided that you're going to go into the entrepreneurial world where there's no guarantee of a paycheck at the end of the week or month.
Yeah.
What was that like for you? What was the thought process, the mindset?
It was the craziest thing because prior to ultimately making that decision, if anyone had asked me probably a year prior, and my husband has many times over the years, what about doing, what about starting your own business or even doing something on the side or all of these different things? And I would say adamantly, I will never have my own business. I will be W-2 forever. You always need people in corporate. There is a sense of security, and I say that with the quotes, sense of security in the corporate space. I like my salary, the bonuses, knowing when I get paid. Like I am not at all interested in the risk that comes with being an entrepreneur. But I really feel I was more so led because the corporate space wasn't fulfilling for me anymore, and I really couldn't figure out why. And as a spiritual person, I was like, okay, I need to regroup. I need to step back. And so it was during some fasting that this entrepreneurship journey came to me. And I'm like, I think I heard something wrong. That can't be for me. But it was, and it was something that really stuck. And so it was scary. Um, Especially because the best way to transition from corporate into entrepreneurship is through a transition plan where you start doing those things with entrepreneurship. You start small, and as that business grows, then you can try to scale back on the corporate side until ultimately stepping into full entrepreneurship. That's the least amount of uh it's the best way to do it. I can't think of the word I want to say. But for me, I completely left one to start the other. And I knew that if I'd stayed in corporate, that I would still continue to give my time to corporate because that's where my bread and butter was coming from and not really dedicate the time to the entrepreneurial space. And so, yeah, it was definitely a different type of journey for me, but I'm just I'm a resilient person, period. And once I've decided that something is what I'm doing, then I'm going to make sure that I do it and give it my all. And meaning if for whatever reason this entrepreneurial space didn't work out, it wouldn't be because I didn't give it 110%. I didn't invest time, money, learning, growing myself, investing in myself and trusting myself. And so, yeah, it's a scary space to be in, but I knew that this is where I was called to be.
So the easiest, the most desirable way is to have this transition plan from
Yes,
corporate to entrepreneurial. But if I'm hearing you correctly, you left cold turkey.
yes.
What was, and you said it was scary from a mindset, I guess, standpoint, in addition to just dealing with the uncertainty. What's the biggest lesson you took away from that? What would you advise someone to do in your situation?
Well, one, make sure you have a plan. And not only that plan is understanding what is it that you're going to offer and making sure that, it's something that people, is there a desire for it? Is there a need for this thing? And so making sure you have a plan, but also there are small steps that you can take up front. Like for me, one of those was uh, reaching out to people on LinkedIn who were already in the space that I was looking to go in and reaching out and making those connections and saying, hey, you mind having a quick chat with me so I can pick your brain. And it was just something that kind of came out of the blue, but I probably received 95% response of people not only accepting my connection request, but also agreeing to meet with me and just give some great tips and do's and don'ts. And I was pleasantly surprised because I thought, people would be like, what? No. And but they were very receptive to helping me and helping, things that different systems that I could try, different things that I could do. It's, telling me things that I could do that were either low cost or free versus automatically spending money up front. So that was a big part of it. And then just understanding what it is that you're going to do. Because if you don't know what you're doing, how are you supposed to convince someone else to buy it for you? And how are you supposed to tell them what it is you're selling or what you're offering? So having clarity, and then taking those small steps, getting your business established, just learning some foundational things as far as are you going to take care of certain tasks or are you going to need help? And if you're going to need help, look into what that could cost. So you have an idea even of how you want to price your products because you want to make sure you're pricing to a point where you can sustain these costs and not you're providing a product, everyone is buying it, but you're still in the hole because you're priced too low.
Mhm. So if I'm hearing you correctly, although you did not have a transition plan from corporate to your entrepreneurial endeavors, you had a plan about what it is that you wanted to do once you enter that entrepreneurial field. And then you grew your tribe. You reached out to people and asked questions, and they were um, happy to help.
Yeah. And well, so I didn't have, when I say having a transition plan, that means it's something that could expand 6 months, a year, maybe even longer, because you're going slow and steady to make sure you can really get the business established and build it up. So my so-called plan was 90 days. And that's because I gave the company I was with a 90-day notice. And I gave a 90-day notice because I was scared. But I gave them a 90-day notice. And it was during those 90 days that I established my business, that I started reaching out and doing all the things that I'm mentioning. So there was very small, and that's why I say not much, because a transition plan should take or ideally takes a lot longer. Like a good entrepreneur friend of mine, she's still in the corporate space and she has her own business and she's been doing both for the last, I think, 7 years now. Because even though her business is, she gets clients, it's successful, it's not enough to sustain what she makes in the corporate space. And so a good transition plan allows you to seamlessly or as seamlessly as possible go from one to the other.
Yeah. So, starting any new business is a daunting task, to say
Yes.
the least. And now here it is that you've left the safety, as we said, the
Yeah.
security of a corporate job to go test your waters in entrepreneurship, and then you get a cancer diagnosis. I mean, life, all of us, have to deal with these curveballs that life
Mm-hmm.
throws.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm curious about the mindset. Help us understand how you received that message and how you decided to move forward once you kind of got over the initial shock.
Yeah, honestly, even the fact that I had an irregular mammogram kind of threw me off. And just to put that snippet, I guess, in here, since I have the opportunity, there were no lumps. So for the women who say I don't need to go and get a mammogram, I don't feel anything, everything's fine. There were no lumps. It was only found because I had my mammogram done. And so again, it was an early stage, early enough also that I did have to go through radiation, but not chemo. I was 1.5 millimeters away from chemo as far as the tumor size. So, that's just to advocate to go out and get the mammograms. But having an irregular one threw me off because, excuse me, that's not something I'd ever had. There's no history of cancer anywhere in my family. To hear the breast cancer surgeon tell me I'm honestly not even sure why we're here talking because you don't really fit the profile, so to speak, of the person that we would normally see in this space. And so I think that was probably just as heavy to hear as the diagnosis itself. But I was thankful, one, that it was such that caught in such an early stage. I was thankful to have a great support system in my family and even honestly the doctors that I worked with. And that was something I even prayed about, like for the right team. But they were very supportive, they were very understanding, and you know, my doctor ended each because I had the surgeon and I also had a plastic surgeon um, as well. The plastic surgeon ended each of our visits with a hug. I mean, it was the most comforting and supportive environment to be in. The night that I left, the night before my surgery, my household was full from family coming in, people coming in to stay, and just really saying, what can I do to help? How can I be of support? When you come home, you won't be able to do certain things. So where can we step in? And so that made a big difference. But again, you have that part that's like, well, what are you going to do with this business? It's not really going that well right now. And there was that voice and actual a couple of people that were saying, it's probably time for you to start considering going back into corporate. But what great thing does not come with obstacles? What great thing does not come with some level of hardship? And so that's what I, held on to. If I stick with this thing, then what I reap in the end will be so great that, that's the true story, the story of overcoming, the story of making it through. And so that's what I held on to.
You are diagnosed with cancer and you said, oh, you are thankful. And that's actually, let me back up because I think it's really important to have this public service announcement for all women, that even though, as you said in your case, you didn't have a lump because you were doing your
Hmm.
regular checkup. And men,
Hmm.
you should do the same as well, right? You
Hmm.
should have
Hmm.
a regular checkup because you just don't know what is there
Right,
lurking in the background.
right.
And so you're diagnosed with cancer. A lot of people sometimes see this as a death sentence, but you found a way to be grateful, and that's an important lesson too, because we sometimes forget that despite the challenges that we're facing, there are lots
Hmm.
of other good things in our lives that
Yes,
we need to be thankful for, and that in fact keeps our minds off the troubles in a
yes,
sense, but also re-energizes us. Um,
yes.
so you're starting out your entrepreneurial journey. You now have to battle cancer, and um, it really throws a wrench in the plans, doesn't it? And you have people
Hmm.
who are well-meaning saying to you, well, maybe you should go back to corporate. Um, Clearly you didn't listen to them
Right.
because as you just said, what great things doesn't come with obstacles.
Right.
And sometimes we forget that. So please remind our viewers or our listeners of the fact that sometimes you will be on your journey and a huge obstacle come up in your way, but it shouldn't stop you.
Yeah. That there are so many times where the thing that we want, and most times anything great, anything great. If it's something, first of all, there's a goal that you have, something that you want to do, something that you're trying to accomplish, and it seems quite possible, then it's probably too small of an idea anyway. That just put that out there. If it's something that, oh, all I have to do is this, you're probably thinking too small because those great things are going to seem insurmountable. They're going to seem hard. They're going to seem, even before you even start, like, how can I do that? But it's when you start taking those steps towards that, and it can be little steps, but as long as you're taking steps in that direction, you will find that you'll have favor, you'll have doors opening for you. Like I said, with the people reaching out or responding on LinkedIn, that was a huge help showing me what type of systems I could look into, free things that I could try without having to spend all of this money. Like that was a huge help for me. And you'll realize that you'll get that help, but it does not and will not come without opposition. And that opposition and those trials will come, but you will make it through those things. And I want to reiterate that you'll make it through those things, and you'll make it through as long as you continue to walk and stay focused on that ultimate goal, because then you'll appreciate it more, you'll understand it better, you'll have a testimony even to tell others. But it's just that other side will feel so much, you'll feel so much more fulfillment knowing that this is what I was able to accomplish. And not only that, we don't realize the things that we go through are typically there to not only help other people go through those things after us and help us to guide them, but also to prepare us for bigger things that may be coming, bigger obstacles that can be coming in our life. And somebody will say, well, how are you dealing with that without being upset and without being, oh, because I went through this other thing. And so now I understand how this works and I'm more prepared. So yes, the obstacles are going to come, but we have to stay focused on whatever that ultimate goal is, and we will accomplish it.
So I love it. If your goal is a little easy or seem too easy to achieve, chances are you're not dreaming big enough.
Right.
Because if you were, then it would seem difficult, it would seem daunting. But you're
Mhm.
telling us that we shouldn't be discouraged, we shouldn't be afraid of those things. Those are,
Right.
we should take them on, right? It's a challenge
Mhm.
that we should take on. What other lessons have you walked away from these two experiences with, Sharika?
Um, I guess another one for that, there's two quotes that I like. And they're not mine. I'm not sure where the origin of them, but one is the lifetime of the lifetimes. Well, wait, the opportunities of a lifetime. I'm saying it backwards. The opportunity of a lifetime only lasts for the lifetime of the opportunity. And so that means that when something comes, and oftentimes it may be something like, oh my gosh, this is the breakthrough I've been waiting for. This is the thing that I've been waiting for. And it seems so great. We pull back. Oh, wait a minute. Let me go talk to this person about it. Let me go pray about it. Let me go do all of these different things because it may just seem too great for what we can understand. But if it's something that you are called to do or called to be, then step into it because God can just get somebody else to do it. So don't miss out on those things that you don't miss out on your opportunities. Don't miss out on your next because you're allowing fear to be what leads you and not your courage or your faith. And then the next one, which kind of even piggybacks off that, is you don't get what you deserve. You get what you expect. So what is your heart posture right now? What is it that, what are you looking forward to? What is it that you're expecting to happen? What is it you're expecting God to do in your life? What are those things? Because that's what you ultimately receive, not the thing that you think you've prepared for or that you feel like you deserve, but the things that you're expecting um, to receive.
Wow, that's a beautiful place in which to end this conversation. I think the lifetime of an opportunity only lasts for the lifetime of the opportunity. You don't get what you deserve, man. You get what you expect. And I can tell that you expect, Sharika, great and amazing things in your life, and that's unfolding. I really believe you exemplify the epitome of this keep on pushing philosophy, this keep on pushing spirit. And so thank you so much for sharing your amazing story with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Indeed. Guys, if you enjoyed this, if you found it valuable, don't forget to share it with others. And of course, don't forget to drop us a like. Looking forward to sharing the next amazing story with you. Until then, keep on pushing.